Okay.
Hey, Tim, Davis Bonham here.
I sat down a little early.
It's okay.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Davis, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, good. Been a long day
Tim's here.
already.
Yes.
Hey guys, can y'all hear us okay?
Yep.
Yeah,
Perfect.
got you loud and clear, Taylor. How are
Good
you?
deal. We're still working with this new technology we have here at the office. Wasn't quite sure how the audio worked.
We just got a huge computer system upgrade, and there are many benefits, but it has also come with some, there's definitely a few growing pains. So
Yeah. I was going to say that the video is a little spotty on you two guys in that conference room over there, but the audio is just fine.
That's just our normal appearance. It's not the video.
It's been a rough day.
This is a typical Thursday in our world.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right.
Only 3 more days to work this week.
That's right.
Exactly.
And Jeff gets pretty upset if we don't hit that 80-hour week, hour work week.
Julie says that's only Monday through Thursday in her world coming
That's
up.
it. That's it. So,
IRS plus COVID equals busy, right?
yeah. Well, and then they announced today that there's a new tax bill pending that may change everything for 2020. Yippee.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
ugh.
So they can go back and change retro to last year?
That's what they're saying. They're saying the bill that he is proposing makes some changes to 2020. Yeah. So,
Well, that's
which
odd.
means my year will never end.
Yeah, really.
Well, thanks for making me not sleep tonight now.
I'm just thinking, do I have enough money in the bank if I get a bill in the mail?
Well, I shouldn't say this in public. I would say, don't worry about it because the government will bail you out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly. It seems to be the trend.
Plenty of free money to go around.
Right.
We did buy a color printer here, so we'll be okay. We'll make our own.
Yeah. If we see
Not recording yet, right?
Jeff on the back.
It is.
Oh,
Sorry, Jeff. I always liked you, but if Treasury calls, they're getting the video.
Exactly. We like you, just not that much, right?
Not if they call. They have to show up with a subpoena. That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, listen. Okay, there you go. There's our free advice for the night,
That's
Julie.
it.
So, Julie, I don't remember whether I told you or not. I actually have another MUD meeting that starts at the exact same time.
Oh,
I've got another engineer in the next conference room covering it, but there's a couple of things there that are going to require my attention. So if I slip out of here, Taylor's got it all covered, but don't think I just abandoned you or got sick or anything. I'm just got to cover two at once.
not a problem. So.
That's if Taylor can keep the other bunch under control.
The other Taylor.
Yeah.
Yes, you're Taylor.
Yeah.
Might be right, exactly.
So is it just the 5 of us so far?
He is
let's
on.
see here.
Okay, go ahead, David.
We have 7. We have
7?
Tim.
Okay.
Tim's on. Is one of the callers. I know we have a George.
In the audience?
George, what was your last name?
Gilmer. I'm just a silent audience member.
Perfect. Okay. maybe of some relation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll gripe later when she gets home.
There you go.
Well, glad to have you, George. And then obviously
Thank you.
Gerard's there as well.
Okay.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hey, Gerard.
We do have a quorum.
Who we got? Me and myself, Gerard, and who else?
Tim.
Tim.
It's on.
Okay.
Yes.
Tim called
Okay.
it.
Tim's here.
Okay.
I'm
Oh, okay. Got it. I didn't recognize that number. I didn't know whose number that was.
Okay, this is Dee. I'm on here too.
Good evening,
Hi,
Dee.
Dee.
Hi, Dee.
Hello?
Oh, it's 6:31. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, do you know if Mark's planning on joining and Tom's planning on joining?
I thought Mark was. I thought Mark was in town, and I honestly, this time of year, I don't have time to talk to anybody, so I don't know if Tom was and Richard's not on yet. That's strange.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Tom's not on. And I remember from the last meeting we asked Mark, and I think he was in town for this one.
Yeah, I thought he was too.
Correct.
Uh.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't have. Does anybody have Mark's number? Can somebody text him? I just texted Tom.
I just sent Mark all the information. This is Richard.
Okay.
Oh, good. That means he's calling in, I bet you.
Okay.
Yep, I gave him the phone number and the code.
Tom joining us tonight, Richard?
I'm assuming he was. He didn't tell me he wasn't.
Okay. We'll give him a minute then.
Yep. Sorry, I just got on. I was doing a last minute search for Davis.
Oh, thanks, Richard. I appreciate that.
I just sent it to you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
Mhm.
Oh, Tom's in another meeting, he said. Okay, so as soon as we get Mark, we'll. Well, I guess, should I go ahead and call the meeting to order? Okay. I'm gonna call the meeting to order of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District Board of Directors on February 4th at 6:33 p.m. Okay. We do have a quorum, so. First item on the agenda is the engineer's report for water, sewer, and drainage bond election. Okay. So I'm guessing this is you, Jeff Taylor.
Yeah, it'll be us. We talked a little bit about this at your last regular meeting, and then we've had a follow-up meeting with a couple directors to explain things. Obviously, there's two bond authorization election reports, one for water, sewer, and drainage, and one for recreation bonds. They're meant to authorize bonds that would be used over, let's just say the next 20 years or so, whatever it takes. These are not intended to be spent, in the next year or anything. They're not intended to be sold at one time. They're just as needed. We've been through Taylor and Richard and a couple of directors did a tour of the district. So we've identified, some types of projects that are going to be needed. Did our best engineering judgment to see just what we thought would be the proper amount to be authorized. It's a number we have. The board's discretion to raise or lower that as they see fit. Obviously, the voters have to approve this, so we don't want to scare them, but we want to get enough money to take care of the district going forward. Some of the projects, I'll let Taylor just hit the main topics that we included.
So, as we talked about on site, one of the main projects was the major storm sewer issue with the dual 48s and along the golf course with the sinkholes. And so that's a pretty big issue that in relative time frame needs to be done fairly quickly once we do get authorization and bonds. Your water plant control buildings are pretty outdated. They're wood structures. That's not a huge item, but it's something that is causing damage to the motor control centers there. So ultimately, the motor control centers and the buildings need to be upgraded. Our typical plan is to use a precast or CMU, just for some engineering information on that. You usually get better insulation off those, better weather protection. It's a climate controlled area for that hot electrical equipment so that you don't prematurely deteriorate the metals and stuff like that.
Let me just jump in real quick. When we talk about the motor control center, it's not that we're saying, oh, they need to be replaced now, but at some point, Richard's going to have trouble finding parts as things get antiquated, and they just get to where they have to be replaced over some time period. And you need to plan for that, because that is an expensive item. You do not want to fund that through your operations account.
All the manholes that I've looked at for the most part in the district that I pulled, I only pulled about 20 manhole lids when I was out there by myself, but from that, I got the idea that most of them were still brick. These brick over time allow a lot of infiltration in. Infiltration leads to heavy loading on the plant, which leads to issues down the road. With an age district like yours, one of the things, I know you guys did about 40% of the CIPP, according to Richard. You'd want to look at doing the rest of it. The truss pipe that's probably in the ground deteriorates, cracks. You start getting added blockages, infiltration, again, a huge issue there. And so you want to look at that, line it, figure out where your offsets are and things of that nature. And then the wastewater treatment facility.
We still have sound?
I'm
I
here.
think we just got a blip on their internet, maybe.
I agree.
Okay.
Let me.
Oh yeah, they're not even moving.
Yeah, they muted and unmuted. Oh, I just got a little movement, so maybe they're about to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been.
And I'll say just.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just while we have this little break, maybe if those people who aren't speaking, especially if you don't have headphones or something like that, if you wouldn't mind muting your phones, we are getting some barking dogs and little feedback and stuff from a couple of people.
By the way, Mark's up now.
Good, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Welcome.
Thank you. Computer problems.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is I think my third one of these today, and both of the other ones, there's something going on. It's been a spotty day, and I'm not gonna admit to operator error. So,
David, did we lose the engineers?
yes, we did.
It looks like they're frozen, and I'm just not sure. That has to be some sort of internet interruption. They can certainly call in. Oh, there they are.
They'll be back.
They're gone. Maybe they're coming back.
Yeah.
Let me just say while they're gone, we've talked a lot about the process, but this is obviously, we got somebody with a phone ringing. This is obviously the basis for the bond issuance amount, and is pretty important. And the idea is that we would authorize an amount that would carry the district forward for some period of time. The bond issuance process takes, give or take, a year from the point when you decide that you want to sell bonds to the point when you have cash in hand. And so what you don't want to do is wait until you have a problem to then decide that you're going to call an election, which takes 6 months, and then go through a year-long bond issuance process. Because when we sell bonds, we put together a bond application to the TCEQ, which takes it a couple months to put together for the engineer. That application then goes to what the TCEQ calls a major application. The standard time for the review of a major application is 6 months from the point at which it is declared administratively complete, right? So the TCEQ receives it. They have essentially an intake office person who does a quick look at the application and says, all right, it looks like everything's here. They declare the application administratively complete and put you on notice. And then from that point, assuming it's a what I'll call a regular review application, there's a 6-month review process. And I can tell you, I have applications that I'm waiting for approval on right now that are beyond 6 months. And so it just kind of depends on the TCEQ's workload and things like that. Just be aware of that. Once we get approval from the TCEQ, then we go through a process of actually selling the bonds, which takes about roughly another 3 months. And that is preparation of an offering document and a notice of sale, the distribution and marketing of those materials, which should be done by a financial advisor, which you will need at some point in the not so distant future. And then the actual sale of the bonds. And whenever the district sells bonds, whenever any governmental entity in the state of Texas sells bonds, the approval of the Attorney General's office is required. And so what we'll do is we'll put together a huge package of documents we call a transcript, which the Attorney General's office has a laundry list of items that they want to see every time water districts sell bonds. And we'll submit all that information for their review and approval. So you have about a 30-day marketing process, about 30 days to get a document together, about 30 days to market, and then, award the sale of the bonds, and then about 30 days to obtain approval from the Attorney General's office. So it is I have heard it said this is some of the or the most heavily regulated debt there is, right? I mean, we get the approval of the voters, then we go through the TCQ not only looks at the projects, they come out and do a physical inspection. They actually do a financial analysis, which includes not only going through all of the individual projects, we submit construction plans, we submit the whole 9 on all of the actual projects themselves, but then they'll do an analysis of our projection on the tax rate impact and the feasibility of issuing those bonds. They have their own internal test that they look at as well. Just, this kind of goes back to the 80s, but back in the, back before things went south, there was a lot less regulation, and there were some districts that issued bonds that they couldn't afford, and it drove their tax rates through the ceiling. And so now the TCQ actually has feasibility tests that they'll look at. They'll look at your overlapping tax rate, and we'll have to submit projections that'll come from your financial advisor that are based on what they call a no growth tax rate, meaning we can't assume any future taxable value or any future improvements or anything like that. They want to look at your current condition right now, and also take the other taxing jurisdictions into consideration. So just while Jeff's having technical problems, does anyone have any questions at all about the process?
And Davis, I just want to ask a question. I know it was brought up
Sure.
By a couple of people, but what the bond money is spent on, who regulates that once they are issued and sold? Basically, who regulates what that money is used for?
The
Is it
TCQ.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if it was self-regulated, or if this Attorney General's office, or who regulates that?
The TCQ does. When we sell bonds, those bond proceeds will actually have to create a new account. It's called a capital projects account. And those bond proceeds will actually have to be kept separate from the district's operating funds, and can only be used for the purposes that are authorized in the TCQ order. And so when we sell the bonds, if we have approved plans and specifications for the projects, the TCQ will they won't require us to escrow those funds. But if you don't have approved plans and specifications and don't show evidence that you're ready to proceed with construction, they'll actually require you to enter into an escrow agreement with the bank. And the bank will have to hold those funds under escrow. And then you'll have to make a separate application to the TCQ to then meet all of those requirements and be able to withdraw that money from the bank and use it for the approved purpose. If you decide that you want to change if you want to use the money that the bond proceeds for a different purpose, a different authorized purpose, that requires, again, a separate application to the TCQ. So there are a variety of changes. It would be called a change in plans. Or if let's say you had one project that went way over budget and you wanted to use some money from a lower priority project to be able to complete the higher priority project, we would actually have to go and submit what's called a change in scope to the TCQ. And those are what are called minor applications, but they're still a fairly significant review process. It's an application that we put together with the engineer, and we have to speak to the reviewer and stuff. And so absent, there are some emergencies, if the ground storage tank collapsed or something like that, there are some cases when you can get some emergency approval, but other than that, it's a very, very heavily regulated process. So.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you, I've just to let everybody know, I've asked Paul to mute everybody because I was getting some real bad
Right.
feedback in my headset. So if you would raise your hand if you want to make a comment or ask a question. So
Yes, and Julie, I was going to say I've been texting with our engineers. They are back on. They will
Okay.
need to unmute. Their camera wasn't working, but so they called back in. But they're on.
Okay.
And I did mute everyone to kind of cut out, but I see that they're unmuted. So go ahead, gentlemen.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
This is
Julie,
Tom.
in the
I'm just letting you
beginning
know
of the
here.
bond process, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yep.
is that Tom?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
Tom.
Okay.
Great.
All right, this is
I
Jeff.
hear
Can y'all?
Jeff. Yeah.
Yes, Jeff.
All right.
We can hear
The
you.
beginning of that bond process was a preparation of a bond application report, which would include the projects in those bonds, and those are authorized by you to us to be included in that. So, you know, no one gets to just submit a bond application for what they want without your authorization. So you get to be involved in the very beginning.
And let me also say that I have to sign it. Jeff has to sign it. The financial advisor has to sign it, and the district has to sign off on it. And you know, I really like you guys, but but if they aren't you know, proper projects, none of us are willing to put our careers on the line. You know, for you know,
right,
get in trouble. So let me also say just one other thing. There is an analysis that will be done every single time before we submit the individual application, right? And it will start with, and it will come from first the engineers on the priority projects, and then we will look at, you know, tax rate implications and the district's ability to pay off the bonds. And then on that basis, we will decide, you know, how to size the application, right? And so there are a number of factors that are taken into consideration, but authorizing $25 million in bonds, this is not like a school district bond election where we authorize the bonds and then we turn around and we sell bonds, you know, 30 days from now, right? We have to go through this whole long regulatory process, and we don't have, you know, a staff of 500 planning for growth and, you know, with a huge capital improvements plan and all this kind of stuff, where a school district is, you know, ideally looking out a decade in advance. We are responding to the needs of a water, sewer, and drainage system that, you know, things happen. And so it's important that we have bond authorization in place in the event beyond what we think we need in the immediate future, because, you know, things happen, and whether or not you use it, it's something that's always good to have in your back pocket. It's like a line of credit that doesn't cost you anything, but that you can draw on in the event of an emergency. So.
Okay.
Sorry, Jeff.
No problem.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where we dropped off, but you know, Taylor had gone through the types of projects. I don't know whether we lost you too early and you need to go back through some of it, or you just have any questions about what we've said so far.
Yeah, I think we were talking about
center.
the control center. Yeah, that's how far we got.
Okay.
Okay, so we kind of realized it, but what Jeff was saying is those control systems in their own right are getting old, and as they age, it's hard to find parts for them when things do break, and so you end up with piecemealing them together and stuff like that. So on top of them not being well protected, they will get aged, and the way technology is advancing nowadays, they phase out stuff pretty fast with these MCCs. So, you know, we have been doing this in a lot of our districts with your age. to fix these things. Another project I was touching base on was did we talk about the sanitary lines? I think that's where I cut off. So with y'all sanitary lines, y'all have brick manholes, which are concurrent with most districts your age. Those, as they get older, the mortar starts to lose its ability and infiltration becomes a big issue in a district your age. What that does is heavily load your wastewater treatment facility. This puts added stress on your ability to operate it. It makes the cost of operations a little more. So we would go in and look at the manholes and relining those, along with, I believe Richard told me y'all did about 40% CIPP of the concrete sewers. You know, you need to look at the other 60%. That truss pipe starts to crack and you get the same issues, or joints start to offset and you start seeing heavily clogs. You know, that's become a prevalent problem just with the pandemic, that everybody's using these towelette wipes and things like that to clean stuff. They flush them down the toilet. Now you're the ones dealing with them in the lines. So, you know, that, and then looking downstream at your wastewater treatment facility, y'all did a good job updating the package plant you have out there. Y'all recoated it and everything like that. But the old plant needs to be taken down, cleaned. You have air drops that create aeration zones, which are just bubbles to process the waste, and you know, those need to be looked at as far as repairs go. You have a splitter box that it needs to be repaired that splits flow between the two plants because they kind of operate separately. And then projecting further out, the package plant you guys have is what we call the metal plant you'll have on the ground. You rehab it and you repaint it, but you're in a very corrosive environment. Once that starts getting pitted, even though you've recoated it, it's already lost some of its lifespan. It starts to deteriorate a little faster the next time around. So, you know, you could be looking at 15 to 20 years down the road, needing a new package plant to put in there or something along those lines. You know, so that's just kind of the stuff we're looking at, from immediate actions of sewer line and manhole rehab and storm sewer to long-term things of your package plant might not last the next 30 years. And like Davis was alluding to, you know, it's a line of credit that you guys have, you know, and you don't want to be going back to the voters every 5 years saying, okay, we need more bond authorization, because you get voter fatigue.
Yeah, so we're just trying to put you in a position for the long term.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I want to ask a question. Did all the board members that wanted to get a chance to go with Taylor and look around the area, the subdivision? I think Tom and Gerard wanted to. Did you guys get to go with him?
Yeah, we did a virtual tour of it.
Okay.
So that was a good report on the physical assets. Do you want to talk a little bit about the financials as well, or can we ask some questions or make comments on that?
Sure.
So
go ahead.
So I guess, I mean, I do agree that that we need a bond. There's definitely some work needs to be done, especially around the drainage. No question about that. And I think, you know, without the engineering and the non-constructive costs, I think there's about $7.5 million in the authorization call for that. But what did concern me a little bit is, you know, if $25 million is being authorized, I did some quick calculations, and you know, that can be significant to the property owners. And you know, if just 15 million was sold, and this is what was modeled, that could cost owners on average $757 per year for 30 years. That's a pretty significant increase in taxes. In fact, if it was the full 25 million that had to be sold, again, my quick math is $1,262 per owner per year for 30 years. I looked at it for me. Our tax rates are pretty low here, and I pay a little over $3,000 a year as public record. And if it went up $1,262, that would take it up to $4,500. That's a 40% overall increase in my taxes. That concerns me, guys. So I have a concern about that, and I think that a lot of people in the district would be concerned about a potential 40% overall increase, and that's what we're asking them to authorize.
Well, can I make a comment or
Sure.
a couple of comments? I too, as a homeowner, because I live right next to you, as a homeowner, I too agree with that. But I also want to be able to sell my home. I want to be able to use the plumbing in my home and everything coming to my home. I don't want any drainage issues. I don't know what's happened during the last couple of years, but I don't want that to happen again where just a minor rainfall floods homes that have never flooded before. Whether it's our problem or somebody else's problem, we need to figure out whose problem it is. But second of all, we can't keep kicking this can down the road. It's like your car. If you don't maintain it, if you don't repair it, if you don't take care of it, guess what? It fails. And I think, without going back on it, I think we can look at the letter that was put out by the two past presidents that were presidents for 25 years. And in their own words, it says they did not do maintenance and repairs because they wanted to keep the tax rates low. Hey, that's great. But how far down the road do we kick this can?
Yeah, well, I started out, Julie, saying I am in favor of a bond. Okay, I do think that we do need a bond. I really do. I just think that maybe we're asking too much, and the sewers, some work's been done, but very little work's been done on that. But the water treatment plant, number 2, has just gone through a pretty aggressive rehab. $643,000 was spent, and our operator is reporting that in the last monthly regular meeting, all pumps, blowers, transfers, main tanks have been replaced and updated. Don't see any problem anytime in the near future. So you got to look at that, and you look in the bid too, and there's $1 million for well number 1. Well, well number 1's not producing. Well number 1's just in monitoring mode. So there's some numbers in the engineering report, and I know it was done very, very quickly. We asked them to do it very quickly. I understand that, but I just think that it's a little big. And authorization is like a credit line, and that much can be spent. It's being pre-approved by the voters, and then once it's done, then you have got the board and that would authorize the sale. And just kind of going back to your comment about the previous boards. Okay, that is true, but they haven't spent a lot, and there hasn't been a bond in 27 years, I think, and the last one was $2.9 million. And for the most part, a lot of maintenance has been done. The wastewater treatment plant was just rehabbed. These are just things that I know just from recently. We got a pretty significant amount of money that's in escrow with Charleston. Jubal Early has a project that's underway. So while there hasn't, been a bond, and yes, we need to inject some capital and upgrade the sewer system, the ditches. I completely agree with that. I just think 25 million is too high. I think it should be more like half of that.
This is Tim. I've got a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
Does the tax rate that each homeowner would pay go up to the maximum once the bond is approved and the bonds are sold, or does it stair step depending on how many bonds are being sold each year?
So when the district levies its tax rate on an annual basis, we'll the financial advisor will make a recommendation based on the existing debt service requirements, the debt service fund balance, and the projected tax revenues. So in the same way you levy your maintenance and operations rate when you receive certified values from Montgomery County, you'll do your debt service rate, and it's a little bit more of a calculation, but you'll have a fixed debt service schedule, and so your financial advisor will make a recommendation just based on what sort of fund balance you need to maintain. So, and you'll keep roughly a 1 year reserve.
So the answer is it's stair step depending on the debt level.
I don't know if
the first year it's not going to be $1,200.
Oh, exactly
No,
right. It will be entirely dictated by the amount of outstanding debt and the debt service requirements. And there are also some tools that can be used to soften the immediate blow of the first bond issue. Districts that don't have any outstanding debt or have a limited debt service fund balance, many times will fund their first couple debt service payments when they sell the bonds. It's what we call capitalized interest. And so it helps mitigate some of that initial kind of spike that would be otherwise required to establish an initial fund balance.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes, and Tim, I'll just add, if you don't issue bonds right away, which I do think you should, but in years where you're not issuing them, you don't have a debt service to provide. So the debt service is just when you issue bonds, it takes into account the amount that is issued. So if you have 20 million authorized, but 5 million have been issued, your tax burden would only be based on the 5 million that's been issued. It doesn't. You're not going to pay for unissued bonds. So it is that sort of stair step approach, like you were saying, not all at once, this big whammy that you get hit with out of nowhere.
All right, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tim, just to be transparent around my comments, I was working based off of the table that was at the end of the engineering document. And I do believe that in itself was stair stepped in at $5 million in 2022, 2024, and 2026. It was for a total of 15 million phased in. It's just a model. And as I understand, in discussing previously, the interest rates are variable as well. I think that, was it 5.5% that was used to calculate it? I'm just looking back. I think that's what it was.
That's right. That's right. And that's a standard assumption, but obviously market conditions right now, if you were to sell bonds today, you would expect a lower rate.
That's where I was going with that, Davis. It's actually, we would expect lower. So, it was pretty simple math, but I do think that, we do need to be cognizant of what we're going into and what we're asking the voters for. And that we get the right amount. We don't overdo it. Is where I was going with that.
Do you think, looking at the school bonds, I'm just going to use those as an example because that's what we usually vote on. Do you think it's easier for them to come every year or every 2 years and ask for more money, or to get one and then use it over 10, 15 years, or keep coming back every 2 or 3 years and asking for more money? Because I can tell you, after about the second one, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, so we'll go back to the school bonds. I think the numbers that they ask are, number one, astronomical. Okay, so I'm not sure if that was a good example or not, but do I see us going back every year or two? No, absolutely not. And I mean, that's why I'm willing to support $12.5 million. And really and truly, I mean, that's almost as much as what's modeled by the financial advisor that put that table together. I mean, they said 15. I'm saying, well, again, I'll go back to simple math. Looking at what we really need, and also looking at the number that was asked for, which is about half of it, I think that's where we need to be. And if we go through 12.5 million, you know, it may take us, I don't know, almost 10 years is what really is kind of being projected through 2026 to even spend that 15 million. So, I mean, that's 5 years right there. I don't think we'll go through it in 5 years, to be honest. I think it may be 10 years and we'll see where we are. And Julie, I mean, over time, again, the tax revenue, the monthly billings, the money has been coming in has sustained us, and we've been able to put money into reserves to take care of things like the water treatment plant in Charleston Park and Jubal Early, and I'm sure there's lots of other projects that
But can I
that have
tell
been
you
paid
why?
for.
Because
Oh,
they
go ahead.
haven't
Yeah.
done any repairs and maintenance. They've done very little. And
Okay.
that's why
Well,
they've been able to build up the reserves.
no, they've been
And
building
look at the reserves now. Now that
Yep.
we've started rehabbing and we've started making the changes to Jubal Early, and our reserves are gone.
And again, that's why I do support the bond. I just think we need to get to the right level.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments? Any other board members? No other comments? No other questions? Okay.
Julie, I got a quick question for you. And this was just from one of the other homeowners in River Plantation. They had said that they weren't comfortable that they could make a comment once we've started discussing things. They thought that they could only make a comment during the opening public comments. But I think I understand that that's not quite correct.
That's correct. And that's why I let people comment. And that's why I ask if anybody has any comments. As long as they keep it short and to the point, I'd like to hear all comments on all things. And and this is me personally, I'm not one that wants people to wait till next month to remember what they heard this month.
Yeah, fair. No, that's what I thought. They just said that they weren't comfortable, so I wanted to put that out there and clear the air on it.
Yeah. Nope. So, no, I would appreciate any and all feedback as long as we keep it short to the point and on point. So, okay. All right. So, what do we do? What do we so is that we're just sitting here hashing it out, trying to figure out where we're at, and I mean, I would like to ask Taylor a question, and Jeff. So, what do you guys foresee? And I know you had the engineering plan, but what do you realistically see as us needing it within the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 15 years? And I know prices are going up because I've talked to every client I have today, and every one of them is raising their prices. So I know prices are going up. So
are you looking for actual what I think
no,
money?
I just want around.
Okay.
Give me a round dollar. What you think based on the projects we have that we need to have done? Give me a hypothetical close to number.
Okay. I would probably put within the first 5 years, you're looking at a $5 to $7 million number. That's heavily focused on drainage issues, your sanitary, and some small stuff at the water plants. Overall, your water plants are functioning appropriately. I would much like to make some upgrades just to protect things for longer periods of time that are small, such as the building, and things of that nature. And I do believe when Gerard did say, you did make rehab to the wastewater plant, but you only made rehab to one of them, not the other. And you used both of those plants. I think once you start getting into the nitty gritty of that older plant, I think we're going to find some more issues that may spiral a little bit. But the main focus would be drainage and reducing the infiltration you're getting out of your sanitary.
Okay.
Those are the key things I see, and I would probably put it closer to 5 million than I would 7. I threw the 7 out there just because if we got into the wastewater treatment facility and we realized there was more things being wrong than what we saw, that's kind of where that comes from. 10 years out, I would bring back in the wastewater treatment facility if you didn't do it up front. That was when you would start looking at it. You start looking at repainting, recoating water plants, which is about $250K each time. You may start seeing some deterioration in your booster pumps and things of that light. So in that year, you're looking at 3 to 4 million in the 10-year span of things. And then really you have to start looking out to the 20, 25, 30-year range of things to really spend the rest of the money. It goes from maintenance of things. You've got 2 brand new wells for the most part, 09 and I wasn't quite sure when y'all put in the 1 and number 2, but it was pretty recent. I think it was either 2019 or 2020. Those are 40-year wells. You hope to not have another problem. If you have a problem, it's going to be in that 20 to 30-year mark. But typically your lifespan is 40 to 60 years on those when you would see an issue, which puts us in that 20 to 25-year range of just general maintenance and inspection and stuff like that. You'll start to see maybe some waterline issues. I'm not entirely sure, but I'd imagine you have some what we call asbestos concrete pipe in the ground. Typically, it's a good habit to replace that. It's asbestos concrete pipe. You can't remove and replace it without going through hurdles. And with new technology and stuff, it's hard to find ways to repair it when you do have a main break. It's good pipe until it breaks, and once it breaks, it can be a difficulty. And that's something we would just track with the operations side of things, seeing, okay, you've got a ton of main breaks. This might be a new issue we need to resolve. So just in that time frame of things, I mean, you're looking in the next 10 years, about a $10 million bill. And then after that, it's kind of just maintaining your district. And a point I would like to make is that the board is the one who decides to sell these bonds. So in the grand scheme of tax rate and things, if you guys only want to do the most important, very basic projects of $3 million in that first 5 years, to mitigate the risk on your tax assessors, you have that right. And I'll give you exactly what needs to be done. In my professional opinion, that's an emergency. And I'm also going to give you, I think this would be a good idea, my recommendations as well. But again, as a board, you have that power to be able to control the way that money is spent and keep it from being spent on too fast or on too many things that you don't want to spend on. And there's a lot of procedures to get approval for those projects going forward that aren't just as easy as you guys come to me and say, hey, we want to replace all the water lines. Okay, well, we have to put together the plans and specifications, everything, and do a bond app report to do that sort of thing. So it's not easy money to get access to when it comes to selling bonds. It does take a lot of background work from the attorney, the FA, and us to make sure we go through all those regulatory hoops. And so that was a little extra to your question, I know, but I just wanted to just say that.
No, that's okay. So and I'm not arguing with anybody. This is just my point of view. Prices are not going to stay, costs are not going to stay the same as what they are today. They're not going to stay the same next year. They're only going to get higher. Okay. And it just because he says, and I'm not throwing you under the bus, Taylor, 3 to 4 million today in the next 10 years, okay, or 5 years out, doesn't mean 5 years from now it's going to be 3 to 4 million. So if we cut it too close, now we're going to have to go back and ask for more money, because with our rates that we charge, Gerard, we don't make any money. We lose money every month because the rates have not been raised, and we can only raise the tax rate so much a year. We can only raise the water rates without impacting everybody so much a year. We are not even close to any of the other districts around us on what we charge on water rates. If you go out and you look at the other MUDs and utility and cities around us, we're not even close.
That's
And
a good
we've
thing,
done
though,
it
right?
to ourselves, huh?
I mean, you can consider that a good thing. But
Well,
and I do realize prices will go up, and I think that some things need to be done right now, and we should fund those. I think it's, if you look in total, what I heard, for 10 plus years, we're talking $8 to $11 million, and so as fast as you could spend it, it's going to take some time to work through the projects and work through the processes anyway. So if you said go right now, and we want to do everything that, well, I mean, more than what we really see needs to be done right now. Right now, it's 5 to 7 million. We would have at 12.5 million. We would have more than enough to do really all the projects. The only thing that we might not be able to do right now would be those things that are really, far off, like well 3, right? It's pretty far off, or maybe the water line issues, which really don't think that are that expensive. I think that was $500,000. So, I mean, I don't think that if we went with 12.5 million, that we would stop ourselves from being able to do anything and cost ourselves more money by postponing. With 12.5 million, if we needed all that right now, that's more than enough to fund the 5 to 7 million that is needed right now. I mean, it's almost double what we need.
But we also have to remember, sorry to butt in, this Tim, but we also have to remember that some of that 12.5 or $15 million is engineering fees and other expenses that don't actually go to the good of the construction. If you know what I'm saying, they're not expense items like buying the concrete and the things like that. So we've got to look at it, I believe, from the higher number. I would much rather have the higher number in my back pocket, knowing that if I needed it, it's already there. And if we're not spending it, the taxes don't go up to that level. So I'm gun shy about continually going back for bond issues. Like Julie said, once is enough for me.
And let me also add, just if it's helpful to give anybody comfort with the numbers. The use is limited to water, sewer, and drainage projects, right? So you can't go out and build, some sort of, an entertainment complex, or something that is going to bring, be some personal pet project of a board member or anything along those lines. It would be only for water, sewer, and drainage projects in the community. So generally, there's not a whole lot of appetite to go out and spend money to fix the water plant or the sewer plant, or a pipe that's underground, unless there's a real need for it. So.
Yeah, Tim, I just wanted to say that was a good point. I mean, because there's a 35% uplift for engineering and non-constructive costs. You are right. I'm not sure if Jeff and Taylor's 5 to 7 million, they included that or not. I'm gonna probably guess that it doesn't. And so, but I mean, I don't want to be asking for bonds every, even 10 years. Hopefully we can manage costs overall in a way to where, this is more than sufficient. So, just from my perspective, let's just say that they didn't include that. Maybe I guess I could maybe support up to 15 million, but that'd be my top number.
I think Tom had.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What's the time frame or the payback time on most of the debt service? Let's say the first 5 years you do $5 million. What would be the time frame that would be in effect?
Typically, it's 25 years, but
Okay,
but
so
sometimes it'll go out a little longer than that.
okay. I was just trying to figure out. So it could compound then as you go forward in 5-10 year increments, something like that.
So Tom, what I saw was, yeah, it went up to 30 years, and that's because you have $5 million injected in different steps. Really, it's more or less over 5 years, 2022, 2024, and 2026. And the numbers are based on that.
Yeah.
At least that's
Well,
what I saw.
Yeah, I understand everything you're saying, but I don't understand why you have to limit. You know, I'm kind of on the other side of the thing. If you just because you have a line of credit doesn't mean you have to use it. And
No,
hopefully
that's true.
hopefully we're smart enough people that we don't just go out and buy things we don't need.
Well,
and that's why we hope they keep electing a board that's fiscally responsible.
Yeah, that actually raises another question that I have, and Nate Davis, Paul, you can help with that. So if this gets authorized, how long is it authorized? So let's say that 8 years from now, none of us are on the board. Who knows? Would that board still have, and say there was, let's just say out of 25 million that was authorized, maybe 20 million was still left. Would the board 8 years from now, 12 years from now, still have authorization to sell those bonds?
Yes. The authority does not expire.
Right. And the only thing I wanted to add there, if I could say this, and again, it's whatever the board feels comfortable with. You're the stewards of your community and we're your consultants. So we're just trying to help y'all make the right decisions both for now and in the future. So the only missing ingredient I see is that every time you go back to do this, you have to go through what you're going through right now, and that costs money. Now, it's a percentage when you look at the millions of bonds you're talking about, but it still does cost money. So if you go for a larger amount on the authorization, you eliminate the need for these interim expenses on a decade-based schedule. 10 years from now we need more bonds. Now we got to do more reports and have more meetings and hire the lawyers to do more stuff. So you're getting more bang for your buck. That's the only thing I want to add to that.
That's a great point.
But Paul, I guess that raises another question in my mind. So the work that you guys are doing right now is part of the non-constructive cost, right? The issuance. And does the work that you're doing right now go against that percentage, or are you guys billable right now by the hour?
For this board meeting and for the election expenses, we bill on an hourly basis.
Right.
And once we actually start the application process, that is included in the bond issuance expenses. So that, roughly 1 year period from the point of the preparation and submission of the bond application until funding is included in those expenses.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Good question.
Do we have any other comments? Any other questions? Okay. So I guess we just go on to the next item on the agenda and then do them all. Okay. So if I have no other questions on the water, sewer, and drainage bond, let's go on to the recreational bond election, the park plan.
Julie, on that, I at the end of last week, I had asked Richard to get something on the agenda to where the board could be updated around litigation before we enter into further discussions about the recreational bond. I understand that was submitted too late and that the agenda had already been set, but that it's going to be on next week's meeting. So I was wondering if we could delay that discussion about the rec bond until next week after we have an executive session and get a litigation update.
Gerard, we actually have an executive session on the agenda. If you see at any time during the meeting and in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Government Code, the board may meet an executive session on any of the agenda items for consultation of attorney-client matters, deliberation regarding real property, or deliberation regarding prospective gift, personnel matters, security, or any other matters. So we can deliberate a real estate matter related to the park plan if you would like to do so in executive session.
Yeah, I'd really like to get an update.
Sure. Okay. Paul, you want to jump over into executive session, and I'll meet you there.
Yes.
So how are we going to get a code? We don't have a code for executive
that's
session.
what I was gonna say.
Nope.
You should have
Davis, I didn't
Teams
get a code for
information.
executive session.
You should have
Huh?
Teams information. You should have Teams information. We can also, if you didn't get that for some reason, we can email that out. And I'll say this: with multiple teams stuff going on, sometimes it's easier to mute your computer and then call in
Agree.
to the other teams. Obviously mute it, turn the video off, etc., and then you can call in. But I'll make sure that it's distributed here real quick and call in if y'all don't have it. I understood that it was. So
Yeah, I was gonna do a call in on the executive because I don't see the team. He's not quickly enough, David. My fault.
Okay.
Well, right now, I don't have it.
Tom?
Yeah.
This is
Just send me an email and I'll come in that way.
Okay, let's try to do that real quick. I'm gonna mute and take off my video, and we'll send this around to the board.
one
All right,
second before anybody, can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
This is Mark. I've been listening for the last 15, 20, 30 minutes. I've been unable to make a comment
Oh,
at all.
okay.
Oh,
I just signed off and signed back on, so I'm now back on.
Okay.
I missed maybe the last 2 minutes, but I've been unable to speak for the last, however long the meeting's been going.
Okay. Go ahead, and we can hear you. Whatever you have to say in the open session would be fine.
Okay, I just very quickly, I agree with a lot of stuff going on. I just wanted to say that, the bond is it's where we don't have to spend the money. I mean, it's up to us as board members to determine where we need to spend the money. And just because we have a line of credit for 25 million or whatever, we as board members don't have to spend it. We have to do what it is in agreement with Tom and a few other people. Now, like I said, I missed the last part. Are we going to executive session?
I believe that's what the rest of the board wanted to do, which is totally fine.
yeah. I think Davis
Okay.
is going to email the information for how to get in there, but mute your teams
So
and
Julie, let me go. So I'd just like to, since this is like a presidential debate now, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
respond to Mark's comment.
Okay.
But Mark, you're absolutely right. The board does not have to spend the money, but what we do have to do is we do have to get this past the election. And I guess the risk is if we come in with too high a number, it might not get passed at all. Would be the risk, rather than, if it was lower, it might increase the chances that it gets passed. That's all I got to say.
And I'll agree with that. I mean, we need to make it a reasonable number that we can put before the public. So let's sit down and figure out exactly where that number is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think after now, Gerard, I don't know, you didn't see the pictures of the sinkholes and everything, but I think if we put on a good enough case, because I sure don't want that in my backyard, because you would be there.
Right.
But I don't want that in my backyard, and I'm sure that homeowner doesn't want that in his backyard anymore. And that's not the only ones that I'm hearing are happening. Those are just the ones that are being presented. And I think we can put together a good enough case. You look at the people who had Christmas Eve had, and I hope no one's eating right before this or eating now, had sewage running down the middle of Braxton Bragg. Look at the people who's have those sinkholes in their yards. Look at the people who, look at the people it's affected who haven't come forward to speak, that we've only heard about third or fourth hand to go look at it. And I mean, the letter from the past presidents pretty much sums it up. I can read you that last paragraph, and it pretty
No, no,
much
no. I
sums
mean,
it up that they
that's okay,
didn't get
Julie.
any
And
repairs.
I'm not voting for no bond. I'm
Right.
just saying that
Sure.
we reduce the amount. That's all. I clearly think that we need to do some things around all the different types of drainage in the ditches. No question about that.
Right. Yep. And I think if we're fiscally responsible and the voters vote in a board every year, and my opinion is I am 1/5 of this board. So, it doesn't mean my opinion weighs any more than anybody else's opinion. But I anyway, if they keep electing a fiscally responsible board, it should not be a problem. And if they don't use them, you don't use it. So, but anyway, so are we ready to go to executive, or do we want to debate it some more?
Let me add, and then obviously if the board or anyone else has comments, totally fine. I have sent to the board members and your consultant team that is on this call the information. I'm going to do it as a call-in. We're having trouble syncing our, just all this. We've converted our system. All this team stuff is complicated, but feel free. There's a Teams link and a call-in number. We just all need to go on to that. Davis will keep this running. Everybody, please mute whatever you're using for this Teams meeting so it doesn't pick up the audio of the executive session.
Yeah, we can go ahead and leave this meeting and then just rejoin it after the executive, right?
Well, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. We can do that too.
Okay.
That's what I'll do. I had definitely seen problems with that.
Yeah, it's we're still figuring it all out, but okay. We'll see y'all.
I'm not so sure it's you guys. It could be Microsoft.
Well, that's true. All right. Thank you. See y'all in a sec.
Okay, bye.
Somebody there?
Julie.
Oh, okay. You guys are back?
Yep.
Okay.
We have everybody out? No, still coming in. Okay, I see Gerard's back. Who else is back? Who is that?
Julie, I heard you for a minute, then I
Oh.
started hearing some echo and I muted, and then I lost all audio. Can anyone hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Super.
Looks like you and I are the only ones back so far. Oh. Who is that?
I see quite a list.
Sure.
I see D is still in the room.
Mark's up.
Okay. I see your engineers are here.
Okay, is Tim or Tom in?
I think Richard's in. Richard, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here now.
Okay.
I don't know who 42 is. Whose phone number ends in 42?
That's your engineers, the 0042.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody see Tim or Tom back?
I don't.
I'm
yet.
here.
Oh, Tom's
Tom's
back.
here.
Tom.
Okay.
Mark's back as well as 97, right?
Yes.
Be careful with that mute button, Gerard. I was like Mark Robin. I pushed it so I wouldn't make any noise, and it totally locked me out. I had to get out of the whole program and then log back in before I can talk again.
Yeah, that's kind of a Teams thing. It's one of those cloud services, and I know at work we used to use Skype a lot. We're moving to Teams, and we still have problems with Teams.
Let me see if Tim's. Oh, Tim said he's trying to get in.
So if you look at the participants list, Tim should come on as 39 whenever he comes on.
39. Okay.
So Julie, I'll say while we're waiting, the thing we have left to do, if in addition to any discussion that may be remaining among the board members, would be you have an action item. If you've heard sufficient information, you're ready to call the bond election, you could do that tonight.
Okay.
We would need a vote, motion second on some bond election, and then at least 3 favorable votes.
Okay. We'll give Tim a minute because he did say he was trying to get in.
Paul, once you get that resolution made up for that bond, can you send that to me so I can get Julie to sign it?
Yes.
It's already in the packet.
Oh, okay.
It starts on page 41.
Oh, I did see that. Yep. Oh, he says he can't get back in.
Really?
Is he? I hate to say these things. Is he using the right link? Is he using the regular session link?
Can we
called
try to call
in
him?
before?
Can we invite him and dial him? I've seen where that helps.
Yeah.
If you look under participants, it says invite someone
Right.
or dial a number. I mean, can we legally do that?
We can. I don't think there's a legal issue with it.
Do we have a phone number to call him on, Julie?
Let me look up his phone number.
I have it.
You haven't? Okay.
See if I can get this. All right, we're calling him.
Hello.
Hello, Tim. Tim?
Hello.
Hey,
Hello,
Tim.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, okay. We got you.
Meeting.
It kept telling me if I wanted it in English, press 1, and then it wouldn't do anything after I press 1. It would say if you want Spanish, press 2.
Glad you're back.
So
Okay.
I'm back.
That's because it doesn't understand English.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have, now that we got everybody back, do I have a motion to call the bond election?
I'll make the motion that we have a bond election for $25 million for improvements to the sewage and water and drainage.
Okay.
If I can add real quick, the order calling includes the proposition for both the water, sewer, and drainage and the parks, and it is $25,009,050 for water, sewer, and drainage, and $2,943 for parks and recreational facilities.
I make a motion that we vote on what Davis just said.
Sorry to be technical on you, Tim. Just want to make sure we get
I don't have a pen. I don't have a pen on me, so I'm
All
sorry.
right. Do I have a second to the motion? I'll second the motion then. So, all in favor?
Am I?
Julie, aye.
Tom, I.
Gerard, no.
Okay. Mark?
Mark, no. Mark, no.
Okay. All right. So by a vote of 3-2, we have an order to pass the bond election. So. Is that it?
Okay, that is it. I will say that we have basically a duplicate meeting to this one called for next Thursday, just to make sure that we didn't run out of time. And so my assumption is we can cancel that meeting now. So is that everyone's preference? It'd be the same items that we had tonight.
Makes sense to me.
Yep.
Okay. Richard, would you mind noting that on the website just so everybody's clear? We're making sure that gets up
Yep,
in the
I'll take care
appropriate
of it.
locations. Okay, great. Thank
Hey,
you very
Davis,
much.
am I only signing that in one place? The secretary's signing it in 2 places?
That's correct. We have, that's correct.
Okay.
One quick question. I know this is probably the wrong time. Jeff, Taylor, are you still on the line? Jeff or Taylor? The reason I asked that, I haven't compared the one that was with the online packet. There was a statement about growth that was included in that. Do you know if that's been removed? They said they were going to remove it.
I have the.
I think it's probably
downloaded the new pack.
But...
I was gonna say I downloaded the new packet today. Let me go through it real quick.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Are you talking about the 2% growth assumption?
No. I can answer his question if you can hear me.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep,
we
can hear you now.
Okay, Gerard, that's the reports in your packet are the original reports. That statement has been taken out of our electronic version. We will now wrap it up after these meetings tonight, make the modifications to the rec bonds and take out those items that we discussed earlier, ball fields, restrooms, et cetera. Put them in their final format, and then we will complete them and seal them, and then submit them to the board and Davis's office.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Davis, he was referring to one statement that he brought up that should have been removed from the report when we met earlier in the week, when we talked earlier in the week.
Got it. No problem. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Are we good?
We've
all right.
taken all the action we can take.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District Board of Directors adjourned at 8. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have a motion? Sorry.
I have a motion.
Okay. All right. Mark makes a motion. Tim seconds it. I'm going to call us adjourned at 8:24 p.m. on February 4th. So.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night, guys.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Night.